Welcome to Pleasurelit with Patricia. Before we're going to get into this solo episode for my series, The Pleasurelit Woman, this one will speak specifically to the high functioning women. Get ready, buckle up. How about we're going to take 3 deep conscious breaths together so we can arrive. We're going to breathe in through our nose, deep into our belly, and release with a sigh. And we're going to take another one. Deep breath in through the nose. Let's expand and exhale. And we're going to do another one. Deep breath in through the nose, into our belly, expanding. And on the exhale, give yourself permission to release any tension that you're holding right now. Soften your jaw, soften your shoulders, voice it out, move it out, whatever your body craves in this moment. So deep breath in and release. Oh, it sounded a little bit primal at the end, didn't it? A little bit. Whatever comes out, just like giving yourself permission. That's the beauty of it. It can lead into so many different sensations when you give yourself permission. Now imagine expanding that for a little bit longer, actually taking the time to go on a mat and closing your eyes, using a blindfold, taking a few conscious deep breaths and really voicing it out or moving it out in the way that really your body feels like moving and voicing and expressing itself. Oh, this is delicious. This is stepping into your body, out of your mind and into your body. And this is what we're all about, especially when you are a high-functioning woman. High-functioning woman. I said today, I am a high-functioning woman in recovery. And that, bam, that really was sitting deeply with me today. So when it was time to record my weekly solo episode, I thought, I felt that this is going to be the topic we are going to explore a little bit more deeply. Let's unpack it, why I said it, and what is behind all of that. I would also love if you could get yourself a delicious drink. Today I've got my favorite iced coffee, which is an iced long black with a dash of milk, if you want to put it simply. But when I do it at home, it is really just a teaspoon of coffee. Yes, very simple. Teaspoon of coffee with a little bit of hot water, then cold water, ice cubes, and just a little bit of milk for the flavor. And usually at the moment, the kind of milk that I have is coconut almond milk. Delicious. And making it in a really big cup. Delicious. Yum, 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 yum. A portal to pleasure. Sometimes I just really love the taste of coffee, and especially in this variation that I'm doing. So if I can't have caffeine anymore, like it's late in the afternoon or I already had one, then I use the decaf coffee just because it's so delicious. I also already had my lunch, which was also so delicious. Got back into meal prepping. But this is not the weekly topic that I would like to explore. Let's talk about high-functioning women. Specifically, when I said I'm a high-functioning woman in recovery. I also made a post this morning on Instagram basically saying high-functioning women believe they are regulated, which they are not. They're just really good in keeping it all together and keeping themselves together to hold everything together. And let's unpack what's actually high functioning, because the first time I was reading it, I was like, oh, do people really say that? Like, I'm high functioning? Like, I wouldn't really call myself high functioning. And here I am calling myself high functioning in recovery. Not much later. But when I explored what is actually high functioning, I get it, because when I came across that word at first, I was like, am I high functioning? Who would tell themselves they're high functioning? Who would see themselves high functioning? And that was already a sign that I am high functioning, because there was the denial part of like, I'm just doing my thing, I'm great and holding things together and running all my things, my life, my business, motherhood, it's just who I am and what I do. Yes, exactly. And this is why I say that with lots of love in my heart, when high functioning believe they are regulated, but they're actually not, because I was one of them. I was one of them believing that, thinking, yeah, this is just who I am. I'm the one who, is capable, who is independent, extremely independent. I can do all the things, and the more the better. I'm the one who can like manage and push and be really great under pressure. When others fall apart, I can keep calm. Nothing is really bothering me as much as others. And I can just like keep going, pushing on, being on autopilot, multitasking, also high achieving. High achieving falls under high functioning too, because you are usually thriving to be better and, A+ student and doing another course, studying more. I mean, I've completed over 21 certifications, qualifications. Tell me, like, high functioning, doing the next course, reading the next book, listening to the next podcast. You're just on, doing, pushing, and yeah, just things are just progressing, and eventually it hits you. You just, is that my life? Like, is that what it's supposed to be? I just continue, nothing will be ever enough, and realizing this is it. Like, what am I chasing here? Like, what, something is missing. What's missing? And that was a moment when really a lot changed for me. And what was missing is the key nutrient. I'm calling it now the key nutrient, because when we talk about, we want to nourish ourselves, and we talk about nutrients and nutrition, the key nutrient is pleasure. Pleasure was missing, because I was just pushing through and, performing. That's another word that actually really falls under the high achieving, high functioning. It's performing. I was doing all the things so it looks great from the outside, looks great. She's full-time single mom. She's running her business, and, she's doing and independent and has got her life sorted out. And that was not just those years when I actually then left the DV and kept pushing and running everything. My high achieving started very, very early. It was actually when I'm looking back and remember, I grew up in that way when my parents separated. I was 9 years old when they separated, when they got divorced. And that's when things started to really fall apart and change. That was a time when I had to quickly grow up and be the one who was keeping everything together. My mom couldn't really cope and deal with the divorce. She was going downhill. She needed the support. So I was supporting her. I was supporting my younger sister, who was also falling apart and crying. So sometimes at nighttime I had my mom crying, then my sister crying, and I was just, okay, here. Like, I'm here and I'm here. And I became the responsible one, the capable one, the strong one, the one everyone relied on, and the one who was doing everything in, all right, I'm organized. This is what we're going to do, managing everything. And the interesting part is when I said, I'm going to live in Australia, I'm going to leave you all, that was when they all turned their back on me and said, you're leaving us behind. You don't want us. Because of you, now everything will fall apart. I had huge guilt and blame following my decision of turning my back and saying like, look, I'm out of here. And I really had, for example, my mom saying like, what are we going to do without you? Like, what are we supposed to be doing? And like, because I was like that key person there. So looking back, I was growing up that way very early on, being the one who was managing on all and who was also the people pleaser, which falls also under high functioning, because usually you're then high functioning, high achieving, you're performing, you're trying to make everything right. Perfectionism, I can relate to that hugely as well. And people pleasing everybody else, but forgetting myself along the way. So what's the result of all of that? Self-abandonment. So I completely disconnected from my body, disconnected from my pleasure. I overrid all my pleasures, my desires, my wants, my needs, boundaries. I didn't know how to set them. As a people pleaser, I was just like, okay, let's make everybody feel good, and so everything's sorted. Yeah, everybody good. Yeah, what else do we need? Also, helper syndrome. Oh, big one. Specifically then falling into the relationship where he was broken, he needs help, I can fix him, I can change him, I can help him. And when I left, same. You can't leave me. What am I supposed to do without you? You are the one who's keeping me alive and keeping me from doing bad things. And so there was a lot of pressure. And when I just kept going and pushing, like I said, I came to that point eventually where I broke out of TV and took responsibility of my life, of my happiness, of my pleasure, took responsibility for my children so that they grow up differently and that they will have a better life. That's when my Pleasurelit journey, my healing journey, and everything started, with taking the responsibility and the brave step of breaking out of TV, which was the best decision in my whole entire life and for my children and everybody involved, really. And that was a moment when I really started to look at things differently. And the more I got into it, the high performing was still present, though. The high functioning was still present, the people pleasing, the managing, because I went through quite a lot. So that kept me busy. It kept me busy of not facing what's actually underneath. All that pain, all that hurt, all that grief, all these feelings. Because the thing is also with a high functioning, you distract yourself from feeling. And that is a pattern. This is something that you have learned, a survival pattern. A survival pattern that you've learned that has worked for you at that stage, so you didn't feel that huge pain that was happening at that time. But eventually you're getting to a point where it's actually not serving you anymore, where you're going to have to let go of it, where you're going to have to change things. Because when you are distracting yourself and you're not actually feeling pain or anything really, and just keep performing and functioning and high achieving, people pleasing, and all of these that we just talked about, you're also not experiencing or feeling pleasure. You are completely shutting yourself off of everything. You basically just become like a robot, like an I wanted to say, you just function. You just function, but there's no feeling behind it. And that's not what we're here for. That's not life. That's not how it's supposed to be. We're here to experience being human with everything that's there. And that was a moment that switched with me, where I was like, this can't be it. Like, I'm feeling better. I'm feeling happy. I'm doing all the healing and I'm feeling good, but there's just something missing. And that was a moment when I knew and discovered pleasure is the key nutrient. I was missing pleasure. Now, when you add pleasure to your life, it doesn't mean you can't do all these things. You can still do courses, qualifications, motherhood, career, business, relationships, life. You can still have a full life. But if you add pleasure, guess what? You can do all of these things, but you will experience and feel pleasure along the way. You can do all these things, but with pleasure, which is pleasurelit. You can live, love, lead the pleasurelit way, as I like to keep saying. You can embody the pleasurelit woman, the woman that feels fully alive, regulated, radiant, and deliciously turned on to herself, by life itself. So that's what's possible when you add pleasure to all of that. Now, I'm going to have to also say, if you want to open yourself up to pleasure, you will also open yourself up to feeling pain, hurt, grief. That is part of it. You can't experience one without the other, because that's about opening yourself up, having the capacity to feel, and being regulated. What I said at the beginning, high achieving, high functioning women believe they are regulated, where they're not. They're just great and, performing and holding it all together. Regulation does not mean calm. I'm not saying, like you hear and read maybe quite a lot or connect, nervous system regulation with you need to calm and slow things down. It is great. That's great. It's, slowing down really helps you to be more present and be more mindful, intentional, using your senses, which is opening yourself up to pleasure and more feeling and sensation. But nervous system regulation and being regulated does not equal calmness. It is your capacity to feel all the feelings, all the emotions, but knowing that you've got yourself, that you are safe. You can experience pain and grief and hurt, but knowing, hey, I've got myself. That's okay. That will pass. We're going to move through this. Let's use some tools to move through this. And sometimes even what I've also now discovered over the years of really exploring all of that is I had also moments where I was really deeply sad, and I'm just getting goosebumps. We're just talking about it. Where I was because it just puts me back in that moment. Where I was deeply sad. And that deeply sad moment, I'm just going to have to give it a moment, because I love it when I can lean into that, especially like goosebumps, or when you have like a sneezer coming up and that moment of anticipation and then it happens. I need to lean into that. It's just like, also with the yawning, I now really lean into it, and it's just the sensations. When I was deeply sad, I eventually actually transformed that into pleasure. I experienced and felt deep pleasure. You can experience crygasms. They are a thing. I did not know that until it really happened to me. You can also have moments where, for example, you've probably heard about it. You have pleasure, have sex, and it really cracks you open, opens you up. And then tears are following and you're crying after you had just amazing sex. It's all connected. And that's the thing, being regulated. For example, the pleasurelit woman who's regulated, she has the capacity to feel all of that. And something that I teach now with Pleasurelit alchemy, which is like my process, and it's a core modality that I guide the women through within the Pleasurelit Woman program, my signature program, is how you can transmute those survival patterns that we've just talked about, the high functioning, high achieving, performing, autopilot, people pleasing, disconnected, that have served you at some stage but are not serving you anymore. How you can transmute those survival patterns into pleasure. because that's possible. I have walked that path, as you have just heard. High functioning woman in recovery. This is where I came from today when I was talking about this specific alchemy process, because I've been through it. And this is now what I'm guiding other women through, because you deserve to experience and feel pleasure in your life. You can do all of these things. I'm not taking anything out of your life. I'm just saying, no, you can't do all of these things, You can still go for your goals and dreams and have a full life, but do it the pleasurelit way. Transmute those survival patterns into pleasure. That's alchemy. That's a process that we can work through. And that expands your capacity to experience pleasure. And this way, then you can love and lead and live the pleasurelit way without the costs of the self-abandonment or the disconnection or burnout, because that's another very close related thing that can happen to high functioning women, or the constant doing, and then you burn out. And I'm saying also high functioning woman in recovery because that is kind of like my pleasure block. As you can hear now, that has been something that started very, very early on for me. So that experience, that lived experience that I'm teaching from, not just from my 21 qualifications and all the knowledge that I have absorbed as a high functioning high achiever, input. It's also coming from lived experience. I've been through it. And because it's such a core block, I sometimes slip back into it. If I am not making myself a priority and my pleasure a priority, my self-love a priority, I can slip back into it. But now I've got the self-awareness that when it happens, I realize, whoa, okay, I'm sliding into, I'm becoming disconnected. I'm trying to, distract myself or add things more on my plate. Let's pause for a moment. Let's get back into my body. And this is now the moment and the capacity and the state where I teach and guide from. From not just saying like, once you're there, it will all be just perfect. It's not. You will have moments where you can slide back into it. And that's because it's life. This is honest and real here. Life, something will happen, and there's maybe something you're like, well, I'm going to avoid feeling that, so I'm going to start distracting myself, pushing through, adding something more to my plate so I can't feel it. Hang on, let's pause a moment. I don't need to do another course. No, I don't actually need to do that. This is probably just a reaction from my nervous system, because the thing is with your nervous system, it likes to choose what it's known. So if you have not integrated and embodied the pleasure in your life, motherhood, business, it's very easy to just slip back. Just very easy without even knowing. But once you start integrating it, and this is also why within my program, the Pleasurelit Woman, we are not just having the transmutation and the alchemy of it, we are also then adding the embodiment and integration, because knowing is one thing, but actually also doing it and then integrating it and embodying it, that's where the magic happens. That's where it happens that you actually change. And like I said, to the point that you then, when it happens, you can catch yourself, you become self-aware, and you can bring yourself back into your body. That's what's possible for you then. To feel radiant and alive, because I know what I'm talking about, because I've been that woman who had low self-esteem, low self-love, people-pleasing, all of that, to now becoming this multi-orgasmic, radiant, embodied, deeply connected, deliciously turned on woman, where I get constantly asked, how do you do it? And I don't keep it a secret, as you've just heard. I'm actually unpacking this right now in real life with you. Like I said at the beginning, I had this feeling, this calling, this is going to be something we're going to have to unpack together on the podcast. This needs to be shared, real, raw, and vulnerable from the heart in the way it wants to be expressed. Now I'm going to take a deep breath because that was quite a lot that just wanted to be shared. If you are a high functioning woman, or if you are a woman who can see herself in any of that what I have just shared, I first of all would love to hear from you. What has resonated? What do you feel called to share? And then in the next step, I would love to invite you into the Pleasurelit Woman program. That is my signature program. It is 8 weeks, and we are going really through the grounding, the alchemy, the embodiment, and the integration. You will embody the Pleasurelit woman. You have now heard what's possible, from where you are at to what's possible to become. Not become, actually, to remember, to just strip away these survival patterns that are still trying to protect you, but at the moment, they're not serving you anymore. They have served its time, but now it's time to emerge, to let the Pleasurelit woman emerge, to experience and to feel fully. And that is my intention with the Pleasurelit Woman program. I would love to see you in there. And if you don't feel ready for the Pleasurelit Woman just yet, you can join us within the Pleasurelit Circle, which is my monthly membership online community for women on the same journey, where we come together with weekly live calls. We're doing somatic practices, tantric rituals, embodiment practices. You also have access to a resource library that keeps on growing with master classes and guides. There is so much value in there, but most of all, it's about coming together, knowing you are not alone on this journey. So it's really, really beautiful to connect. You will find all the details to join the Pleasurelit Woman and the Pleasurelit Circle on my website at pleasurelit.com. If you've loved this episode, please follow and subscribe to the show, give it a 5-star rating, and share it with others so we can spread more pleasure into this world. Sending you lots of love and pleasure. Mwah.